Are you doing the intro? Hello, I'm doing the intro. Am I right? Welcome to the Balena IoT Project Clinic.
Hello.
Hello. This off the bat is an opportunity for people to get help with their IoT projects. So if you have any questions, you can put them in chat. If anybody in Balena world has got questions, join the stream and ask them, or just put them in the chat and we'll try and answer them. And then while we wait for questions to come in, we'll do some project chat. Let's do super quick intros. I'm Phil. I used to work in balenaLabs, and now I herd the flock in balenaLabs and do some other project stuff. Ian?
Hey, I'm Ayan. I'm developer advocate. I'm in India.
What do you do, Ayan?
Developer advocate.
I
don't know what I do.
You want just a little more?
I don't know what I do yet, but
he was doing it quick, like he was asked.
Oh, I see. All right.
I'm currently hanging out with the awesome people of balenaLabs to complete my residency.
Nice. All right. Short and fast. Hello,
Yeah.
I'm Andrew, product builder, content operations. I build stuff, I break stuff. And I hang out here.
I feel like that's my line. Break stuff. That's me.
Oh, that's definitely your line.
Yeah.
Alan?
Hey everyone, I'm Alan. I'm one of the hardware hackers here in balenaLabs, and I build stuff to break a few things.
You never break anything.
Crack a
Mr.
few
Chris?
heads.
Hello, I'm Mr. Chris. I'm a hardware hacker also. I
No,
hack
you're
hardware
not.
things.
When have you hacked hardware in the last
Look,
6 months?
there's a Raspberry Pi on my desk
Oh,
here.
you can't use that joke anymore.
Not
He
plugged
has
in.
prototyped 3 different projects in the last month or so.
Right, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's fair.
Thomas?
Hey, I'm Tomas. I'm also one of the original hardware hackers, part of the labs team, and also helping out with Balena Hub. Yep.
Mr. Kyle.
I'm Mr. Kyle. I'm an OS developer here, but Phil can't seem to get rid of me out of the labs team, try as he might.
Yeah, you're like a lab squatter. Welcome.
You recently
Welcome
called me labs royalty, which I think that's the best way to describe it.
I think that was a typo. I didn't mean to put your name in that.
Okay.
Look at that. Straight away, we've got a question coming in. Right. Hey, Roddy. Good to see you,
dude.
mate. What's the best way to select an image to pin to after the main image has been updated? Right.
I will try and field this one, and I encourage others to interrupt me if they have better ways. I thought about this a little bit. It is tricky if you're pinning your Docker images to a base image that is set to latest, or maybe just single digit of the semver. So if you're looking at like node images and you just pin to 16, and then things get updated in the background because there's security patches or they bumped from 16.1 to 16.2, that could potentially break your software or introduce unexpected changes. Or even if you're just pinning to like Debian, the buster image might change, the upstream packages might change. So pinning in your Docker file, as we say all the time in forums, is really important if you don't want to accidentally pick up new changes. But what happens if you weren't previously pinned to something, so you're set to latest, or you're set to like Alpine 3, and then all of a sudden what was building yesterday isn't building today, possibly because the base image has changed. And Roddy's good question is, how do we get back, how to be more specific about the image we're pinning to, but go into the past? And that's kind of tricky if it's already been updated and you've tried to rebuild it and you see it failing. One way, if you still have a workstation, or somebody in the community has a workstation where it has been built and the previous image exists, you can do a Docker inspect on that image, because they would have it cached locally, and in there will list probably all the specific versions and tags to help identify exactly which full version string you should be using. But more importantly, it will also have a full digest hash, so you can look up on Docker Hub exactly like the full hash string that exact image is. It's not a tag or a link anymore. It is the hash of the image that can't be changed. So that would be all available if you are able to run a Docker describe on the old image, assuming you haven't already pulled the new one and seen it failing. Even if there's an environment running with the old image, so if you have a device in the field that hasn't been updated to the latest release because the latest release is broken, you can log on to the host of that device and run balena describe and get similar results. So you can describe the images and the tags that they use and the versions that they're using, and then try and reverse engineer that into a tag on Docker Hub, or just use the SHA-256 hash going forward. Does anybody have a more clever way?
Well, can I act like somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, just to aid discussion clearly? Because I know, as you know, Carl, I know pretty much everything there is. But so what we're talking about is when you've got a project and you're using more than one service in your fleet. Let's use proper terms.
Yep.
So you're using your Docker Compose to bring in images from Docker Hub. So these are things where rather than it's being run and built on our builders and then deployed to your devices, it's already built and it's pushed to Docker Hub or another container registry.
Yep.
And then when you say pinning, it's where you're saying, rather than just whatever the latest is, give me the latest one, which is what I always do, by the way. I said, Kyle says, use this exact one. So you put the image reference and then you put colon, and then you put an exact version that you want to use in your project.
Generally, as I always recommend, as long as possible. So even if you put a version, like the first digit of the semantic version, that's going to change too. Almost all popular images as base images on Docker Hub are going to have semantic versioning, and the first digit you can pin to so that you always have Alpine 3, but you don't know at the end of the day if you're getting Alpine 3.1.3 or 3.13 or 3.14 or anything like that. It'll just change on you. And when that happens, the APK packages that get installed and everything change. So not only should you pin to a version, but you should probably pin to the longest version possible, and if available, one with a date stamp. And if you want to get even more specific, you can pin to the entire SHA-256 hash of that digest itself. But then you don't get to use the advantages of multi-architecture images as well.
Yes, yeah. So I'm just trying to bring the audience along. So you can you can specify an exact image, can't you, on a container registry?
Yep.
And like, so every image has got a SHA and then a long stream of numbers, and you can put that in your compose file and say, I want that exact image, but that image is built for a particular architecture. So you couldn't then push your fleet, your code to other fleets. You would have to change that SHA and all that big number for the correct architecture for whatever you're pushing it to. Whereas if you do like :3, for like you're saying for Alpine, that's a multi-arch image. So when it gets pulled into your fleet, the correct architecture image will actually get used for you without you having to specify.
Yep.
Cool. Well, hopefully that.
Oh, I have a question.
No, you go, mate.
Is there any way or tool to use to help you know when the version you're using is no longer compatible, or is it?
Compatibility is tricky because it's going to depend on your app. But I did have somebody recently ask me in the forums, how do I know when a base image has changed? Like, say I'm pinning to latest, or in fact they were pinning to one of the balena base images, and we recently changed our like if you don't specify which version of Debian, if you just say I want balena base images or balenaLib/Python, recently that changed from, I think it went from Buster to, we changed the Debian base. I don't remember exactly what changed, but it was a significant bump. And because they weren't specifying which version of Debian, they got a whole new set of packages when they started to download things. And that's difficult to notice if you're not pinning to a specific release of something, unless you're watching you have a subscription on the base images repo, which you can't do with all images on Docker Hub. But if you really wanted to know when there's like a new version of, say, the Nextcloud Docker image release, you'd have to follow their GitHub repository and see when things get pushed, because there's no, that I'm aware of, notifications or way to be told by Docker Hub itself that, by the way, there's a new image, here's what broke, here's what changed. It's up to the maintainers entirely to put out a new release, choose what tags they use with that release. It's entirely up to them. Usually it's part of their CI process, but they're the ones that assign tags when things get put up there. So this is Docker Hub's just kind of being a dumb registry at that point, and it's entirely up to the maintainers of that image to name things in an intelligent way and be clear on their Docker Hub or their GitHub when they're making changes. I do have a small snippet in my gist to help identify all the tags that point to the same image. So if one day if you're currently using, say, Python 3 or something like that in your Docker hub, in your Docker file, or in your compose file, and you want to get more specific, there's a snippet of code that you can run that will hit the Docker hub API and tell you all of the tags that are using the exact same digest at the moment. So you can tell that when they published it, these are all the names they put it under. And tomorrow that list might change. But every time you run the script, you can see now how detailed they get. They go 3 to 3 dot this to, like, they do the whole semantic versioning, and having that script run means you can pick a more detailed version of what you're already running today. If the image has already been updated, it's more difficult, and that's where Roddy's question comes in.
Yeah, I've had the same situation recently with 2 projects that would no longer build. Nothing had changed, but I realized that the base images were not pinned for these projects. So after a lot of troubleshooting, I went back to the Docker hub and looked at all the tags that were available and picked the date tag closest to when I originally built the project.
Yep.
And magically started working again. So
yeah, if date tags are available, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
That's not an option. Again, that's entirely up to the maintainer. The
Right.
Balena-based images do all have date tags. So if you're using those and you don't want to accidentally pick up changes or accidentally break your project like Phil does, pick the full date tag. Like, that's never going to be republished. If it gets republished, it'll have a new date. So you can be sure that you're going to be getting the same image going forward with those things.
Cool.
What do folks with massive fleets do? I'm looking at you, Tomas. Like, do these best practices check out? Do you have any like other magic to add to the mix?
I have one example. I'm not sure I can add anything to what Kyle said. He was very comprehensive.
As always.
That's generous.
The audio block, for instance, uses Alpine images, and it's, I believe, pinned to 3.12. But we did have a problem, even if the base image was pinned, the Pulse Audio package was not pinned, and what we were installing just Pulse Audio, like whatever the current version is for Alpine 3.12. And at some point, this got updated. It's very rare that they do, once they release a package for a particular version of Alpine or Debian, it's very rare that they go back and do a significant bump in the package version. But this time, for some reason, it did, and it broke stuff. So I went back and even pinned the particular package version. So if for some reason this changes, then the Docker file won't build because it's pinned to a version. And if that's no longer available, then it won't build. Instead of building and then breaking at runtime, which is what happened.
I think that's how this came up, Tomas, is Roddy was involved in this discussion on one of your repos, and he emailed me directly about this image pinning. I think in this case, because especially if it's one of Tomas's fleets, if there's devices still running a working release, we just need to log into the host OS of one of those devices and inspect the current images. And then out of those image inspects, there's a big JSON file. It tells you all about the image. We can get the hash and the version that's currently running. So even if the tag, like Roddy's got an example in the chat here, like image 12 was used, we can describe that image in more detail on the host, and then we can go to Docker Hub and get a more detailed version that is the same. Especially since we'll get the SHA-256 out of that describe function. We can go find that exact SHA-256 on Docker Hub and look for which tags are associated with that. It's not that easy to do with their UI. Their search is kind of crummy, but you can do it with some bash scripts and some curl commands to inspect the working image back when it was image 12, and a few days ago it happened to be working, and then we can get the SHA out of a working one and go and find what tags are still using that digest and use those tags instead. Yeah, like you can't really guess -1 rev, unfortunately. I think it's best to look at what's currently working in the field today and take the digest out of that and then go find what tags are still using that digest if 12 has since changed.
Cool. I think 15 minutes is a pretty comprehensive answer there, Roddy. Hopefully that's moved you along in your project. So for the audience, Thomas is the maintainer and main developer for Balena Sound. So if you've got any Balena Sound questions, definitely ask them now, because here he is on the stream. You can ask him live. While we wait for those to roll in, I saw 2 other people join. Hello, Julia.
Hi.
Hello, Laura. Do you want to
Hi.
introduce yourself, Julia?
Sure, yeah. I'm a front-end developer at Balena, and when I first came here, I did a residency with Labs where I made an alternative controller game, which I'll be demoing today, I think.
Yay.
Yeah.
Cool. Laura?
So I'm Laura, and I work on predominantly product and UI and anything that needs to look good and work well, but without any of the building it bit. I can point at it and tell you how it should look and how it should work, but I can't
Nice.
build it.
Huge advocate of modal dialogues.
I think she's
That's
saying
also
that
building.
Labs don't look good or work well.
That's what I got rolled in for.
Welcome.
That's also
So
part of building, Laura, I would say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I built
that-
it.
it's the second time we mentioned the residency, and it's kind of a fairly new thing where everybody that joins Balena, they spend the first month building a project, and it's kind of like field studies into the product. So you become the user and build a project of your choice with some technical guides that will help you along. So Ian's currently going through it. Julia was the OG. I think you were the first or
First
very
graduate.
close. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the first graduate. So it was really good to have you in the labs, and it would be really good to see your project today.
We do
Mr.
have
Andrew.
2. What's up? Yes, Mr. Phil.
I was looking for you to say what's next.
Oh yeah, so we do have 2 demos on the docket here. One very festive, holiday themed, and the alternative game controller. Who wants to go first? You guys are gonna
All
rock,
pick
paper,
one.
scissors.
No, just pick one.
Battle it out.
Nominate.
Alan.
Alan first.
Wait, am
Okay.
I allowed to submit a question?
Of course.
Or
I
should
asked
we-
Any
Laura
and
to
all
come here because she has a
questions are
question
welcome.
as well.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll do Laura's question in a minute then. Yeah.
Right on.
By the
Yeah,
time we
so-
get to that, I might have figured out how to fix it.
No, don't do that.
It's not allowed.
In
Break
the
it
past
again.
like 15 minutes, I've made progress.
Stop.
Sorry.
Go on,
To
Alan.
your hands, Laura.
Okay, well, this is kind of a yearly tradition, I guess you could say, here in Labs for this project. It's called Pumpkin Eyes, and every year we get this carved pumpkin and insert 2 LCD animated eyes using a Adafruit animated eyes bonnet. And every year I add an additional container to this project. And this year I've added a pulse width modulation flickering LED to look like a candle. So let me switch my camera here so we can get a better view of what it looks like this year. And here we go. So
that's
here you
nice.
can see now you can see the flickering from the LED inside. This year I've taken the eyes out. Let me turn my light off so that you can probably see these better.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Let's see. They're a little backlit. It's a little tough to see the animated eyes, but you can kind of see this dark spot in this eye. And that's a little lesson for everybody here. If you have a very moist pumpkin inside, they don't work really well with LCD displays. It's developed.
They're not waterproof?
They are not, and
Is that in the reading?
pumpkin pulp does not mix well with LCD displays. So what we have here is what I call moldy cataract. It's kind of
Ew.
That's the name of the device.
yeah, that's the name of the issue that I would put in GitHub. Moldy cataract is forming. So what can I say? This is the first year that we've had something like this happen, where the pumpkin itself has
Fights back.
intruded into the actual display. But if I can just grab, let's see, this is a very messy pumpkin this year. I don't know why, but let me just show you what's inside here.
Roll your sleeves up good, man.
I know.
Oh, you're just digging in.
There's pulp. Look
Yeah.
at I don't know if you can see the pulp on these
yeah.
wires, but it's nasty. And here is the candle.
It's going to be really smelly after a few months, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't afford to lose this Pi 3 because it's they're scarce.
Is it a 3A?
It's a 3A plus.
Oh,
yeah,
don't put that in the pumpkin, Alan.
Don't.
Put it in the case, you madman.
I gave it a little bottom, and you can see
You have a
that
3D printer now.
I know. I should have printed something nice, but I just stuck this little breadboard together for the
You animal.
for the LED, and so this is the project, and I updated it. This project suffered also from what I described with Kyle's answer that he was talking about. This pumpkin didn't build again. I went through a lot of troubleshooting. It was just missing something, but nothing had changed since last year except that I did not pin the base image that I was basing it off of, which was just our balenaLabs / Raspberry Pi. So a lot of versions had gone by. So the last ditch, I went back and looked at the tags from last year around this time, picked one from last December or October, I should say, and it just started working again. Other than the cataract, which has nothing to do with the base image.
I like the fact that you.
If you could spray those screens with some kind of like the conformal coating, that clear PCB lacquer.
Oh,
I mean, obviously it's a bit late for one of those now, but
I know
wonder
he
how it
has
works.
a 3D printer. I'm sure he has some waterproofing resin. He has all the tools to solve this, and he's just chosen not to. He just wants to play wildcard.
Yeah, well, that's true. There are a lot of things I could have done, but like I said, I never had this problem before. But this year is a particularly moist, sweaty, kind of pulpy pumpkin.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Those pumpkins.
But what I do want to put in, like a question that I have that we wanted to talk about, and whenever it's appropriate, is Ian also has a project, and what I would like to find out is how we could work both projects on the same device, mixing two projects together, probably using the Docker Compose. There's a great article or a blog post on our site about that, but I thought we could talk just a little, a little more detail. So I guess first we need Ian to tell us about his project so that we could say, why these two would be great
Alan's
together.
so smooth, isn't he? Look at that segue. He just links in somebody else just like that. So nice. Go on, Ian. What's your project, mate?
So I'm working on this Halloween soundboard kind of situation here. So if you can see, if the camera,
come on, focus.
On camera.
Come
on, mate.
Do that.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So that's a Raspberry Pi 0W. The bigger brother launched yesterday, but cannot get that. And that's a Pimoroni Pirate audio hat with the line out. Oops, here it is. So the idea is that this Pi 0 will host a web page, and on that web page there will be a couple of buttons that I'm gonna show you in a bit. And with that button, we can play some spooky audio files. So these are the MP3 files, and you can get some of the sound effects free on the internet. And I'm currently having that on my Pi. So this get connected to a small speaker. And when I say small speaker, I had one for testing, but that went wrong. So that's my small.
Did you put it in a very moist pumpkin? What the?
Yes.
You're gonna need a big pumpkin.
That's how you freak away children who come for trick and treat. By the way, so I'm just gonna plug in the aux jack into this, and I'm gonna share my screen to see how the web page look, because I'm a very good web developer.
I'm ready for this spooky sound.
Drum roll.
Let me turn on the speaker. Looks good.
If you're sharing your screen, I can't see it. Oh, here it comes.
Yeah, I'm just sharing it.
Here you go. You got it? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the project dashboard. So it's running the Balena blocks so for the audio thing, and that really made my life easier to route the audio inside the container.
Yes.
Thanks, Tomas.
Glad we can't see
Thanks,
smug
Tomas.
face.
I have. So as you can see that there's also a small display here. So I made another block, not the block. I made another service here for display, and I have Wi-Fi connect people who already know that if you are not connected to Wi-Fi, this could really helpful. And then we have the audio app where we see this lovely web page that I. So many days to design. So this local IP address, and the spy should be. Yep, there you go. You can see that how amazing is my web development skills.
Wow.
So you'll see
Yeah.
there are
Nice.
4 different buttons, and
Laura,
You're not a
have-
professional
Yeah,
CSS developer, are you?
We need Laura to give this a thumbs up. There's
Oh,
no
this
at all.
is
No comment.
Trust me, this is running on React. So yeah, very, very minimal approach has been taken to design this one. So we have 4 buttons, and these are mapped to 4 different sound effects. So let me play one for you.
There's a little brand thing getting in the way.
Did you
got it.
hear that?
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me
Ooh.
increase the volume. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. Quite spooky. Yeah,
Yep.
10.
So yeah, there are 4 different buttons. You can do that.
I think we need to share the
Enough for
public
now.
URL for this webpage in chat.
Yeah, I
Sure.
agree.
Ooh.
Add it to the
Ooh.
list. I'm a little disappointed that one of the Halloween sounds isn't do 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 Halloween by Chris.
What's in your bag?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Instead
Let's
of
see how this
hello,
goes.
it's Halloween.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yes.
For me to change that, that's a patch.
Yeah,
Incoming
I'm gonna just
patch.
turn down the volume. I don't want to get kicked out of my society.
So I guess to segue back, Alan was asking how we combined a moist eye with cataracts project with a spooky sound project.
Yeah.
I guess the obvious answer is that we take the services that Ian just showed in his fleet and the ones that Alan's is running, and we merge them into a Docker Compose. And the only thing you need to look out for is obviously conflicts, like if you're both using port 80 for Ian's amazing web UI. If Alan had something running on port 80, then we'd need to deconflict those, and any other sort of resource conflicts. But that be it. And I think we do have a post, don't we? Mr. Chris put a post about Swiss Army multi-tools, I seem to remember. Look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that!
There it is.
As if by
There
magic.
we go.
Wow, that's got a handy to grok URL, isn't it?
Yeah. Check that out. If you
We need
Google
some short
balena
URLs, I think.
multi-tool, you'll find it.
Alan, I was just thinking about your soft, damp pumpkin this year. Have you thought about buying a new pumpkin instead of using last year's? It might not be as squishy then. That's the problem. You've been using the same one.
If you recall from last year's show, that one was eaten by squirrels and rats and then putrefied. So that was the problem with last year's. This is definitely
If
not
you've
that
just
one.
joined, this is Pumpkin Chat that we're doing weekly now.
Fortunately, my pumpkin is not as moist as Alan. So, but you know, that was the case. I
3D
decided to.
printed.
Yep.
Nice.
But
Wow.
I miscalculated the entire calculations, as you can totally see.
Hey, trial and error, man. Roddy's got a good one to follow on.
Some projects are using host mode. This has been a problem in the past when trying to stack projects. Oh, do you want to talk about host mode, somebody?
I can step in a little bit. It's multiple containers can run in host mode, no problem. It only becomes
What's
an
host
issue
mode
if
do?
host mode is, well, sorry, I'll start with the default networking mode when running Docker containers on Balena or anywhere, is that they run on a network bridge and they can all talk to each other, but they typically can't communicate outside of this bridge network that's created. And you can manually add ports, so you can bind ports from the bridge network to your host, and now you can expose services on ports. But if you run in host mode, it actually shares the entire host networking stack with the container. So now it's up to the container to choose what ports to open and what services to run, and it has full access to IP tables, and it can do anything and look as if it's on the host network. So that's normally fine. You can have multiple containers running in host networking. It's not as locked down. It's not quite as secure, but it's sometimes required. The only issue comes in if multiple services want to use the same port, as Phil mentioned. So whether you're in bridge networking or host networking, that could cause conflicts if you want multiple things exposed in port 80. It's just host networking and bridge networking won't solve that. Bridge networking is convenient in that if they're both in the container trying to use port 80, you can map them to something different on the host. So it can be, one of them can be on 8081 and one of them can be on 8082. And you can just do that mapping with the ports command in your compose file. But if they're both running in host networking and they're both trying to use port 80, they will absolutely conflict and not be able to run at the same time. There's a variety of ways to solve this. Ideally, you would try to get at least one of those to use bridge networking, and then you could just remap the ports to use something different. You have to think about what you really need running on that primary port versus which other one can be shoved onto a secondary port that's not the primary. It's really on per case basis, I think. But Roddy, in general, multiple containers can run in host mode just fine. It's more what ports are those containers trying to use, and are they going to come into conflict?
Is there also situations, Alan or Tomas, where hardware devices are being shared between two services and you need to deconflict there?
Well, I was thinking about the GPIO pins, actually, something to look out for. I mean, that's not something that comes up in many projects, but this one has the LED flashing. I don't know. I don't think, Ian, you have any GPIO usage. Right?
Yeah, I'm using the SPA for the display one. So definitely we need to, make sure that it's not conflicting with your display or LED.
So you've got a hat plugged in to your Pi that uses all the GPIO, or at least covers all of the GPIO, but we don't know which ones it uses. Yeah.
We do know which ones it's using with the documentation, but we need to make some of the extension port available so we can have multiple things. Okay, so the good thing I want to share about using the containerization is, so there's this known issue with the Pimoroni hat that once you're using the display, the sound gets, totally weird. And that's a known issue. People are complaining it for like past many months. So you can either use display or you can either use sound. So what I did with the entire architecture of the project is that the first my display container will start, it will show an image, and then it will, totally do a small cleanup and it will kill itself. And then we start the sound and the different other web server. So it's a really good thing to know that with Balena, we can actually able to run both, while if you go to the traditional route, that may not be possible.
Cool.
When are we going to see a fleet? I want to be totally spookied.
Or a fleet of pumpkins.
Yeah.
Once the website looks a bit cool.
I don't see what's wrong with that website. I think it's a great.
Well, I think the speaker might be the limiting factor. Like, how many of those speakers could Diane house?
If I could just fit one in a pumpkin.
Should we go to Laura's question? Because if we don't get to it, she's going to fix it, and then she's just going to leave the stream. And we didn't
I see her like actively solving her own problem, and then she's just going to disappear.
She's like desperately trying to solve it so she doesn't have to ask it here.
I was like, Chris was like, yeah, you should come on and like we'll talk it through. And I'm like, do I want this streamed? Like, how dumb can I go? And he's like, well, the bar is quite low. And I was like, how low? And he was like, well, last week we were talking about knobs on barbecues. And I was like, okay.
Nope. Sounds about right.
Okay, I'll join. So my question is around, I've been building your Hackweek project.
Oh, let me see.
The Pixel.
A hyperpixel
buddy,
display
little
at this time of
screen.
Anybody want to plug the hyperpixel real quick for context?
What, sorry?
I have a hyperpixel.
It's meant to look like that. It's meant to
I have
look
a
like
circular
Alan.
one.
Ooh.
I've got the board square
Oh,
one
that's
downstairs.
cool.
I have a circular one.
have
Yeah.
one.
Okay, so you see all these ones that have pictures on?
Yeah, look at Andrew with his rabbit.
Hey.
I always think he's going to eat that rabbit. Oh, having a beer.
That's me.
I want the pictures, and I can't.
So the
the problem
hyperpixel
is-
was made by the labs folks during our hack
And
week
this is
about
a
2
big
weeks
deal
ago.
for me. The fact that it's actually switching on and booted, and the services are running, has taken me several days.
Actually,
I think it's the final hurdle.
I've actually been having the same exact issue with the Pixel. I sort of gave up on it on another project. So I kind of got this weird message, like this weird error message too or something. I forget what it was. I can probably look up my logs. But yeah, I didn't get it to work either with.
Someone competent is struggling as well. So
Yeah. So for context, a couple of weeks ago we had our virtual summit. Well, it was partly in person and partly remote, where we get together and we have keynotes and we find ways to have fun together and connect and all of that good stuff. And then the following week, we always have a hack week where we self-organize into teams and we're given a vague theme, and then we come up with a project and we hack on it Monday to Thursday and then present it to each other on the Friday. And some team, I can't remember all the members.
I knew that you were building up a thing that I was like, the level of detail that he's gone to be able to I wonder who won that project.
The labs team tried not to win it, but unfortunately came up with an amazing
the labs
project.
Team have won a project that doesn't work.
No, hang on.
Show Alan's thing
Look at that. Look what we built in a week.
Reference design. Let me see if we can see. We can't see because I'm backlit here, but the Balena logo is inside these decorative buttons, and this is our reference design.
Laura, do you know what's happened here? Phil's gone and pinned the latest again. So now nobody else can build it. If you're already running it, it's fine. But new builds won't work, so I'm sure he's pinned the latest.
Wow, full circle.
I would just like to ask, though, we tried to update the README for the Pixel Buddy repository to cover everything, and I'm just curious, no, not trying to make any kind of value judgment, but I'm just wondering if you've read through the entire README.
Have you read the manual, Laura?
This is not how we.
Only so that we can improve that. If it failed you, if it has failed you, we want to fix it. It is again not a.
I would like to say that it failed me slightly, where it said click on the button, and then it was like button coming soon.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
But it also does tell you how to use the CLI, but no excuses. That's understandable.
No, I've got it running. It's just not showing any pictures. So
all right, let's get it to a successful state. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
So one thing I remember you had to do, Alan, is you spent the first day, certainly part of the first day, trying to get all of the various HDMI or the video timings and all of the config of the screen itself. So is that something that's pushed to anybody's fleet when they deploy?
At this point, no. At this point, those all need to be set manually. So that is a little bit of work.
So that would be in device configuration, or are they device variables? Device configuration.
Yeah.
Can we have a look at your device configuration, Laura?
Can we share the URL for this project? It's Pixel Buddy, isn't it?
Yes, it's currently.
Could we zoom in just a tad? Because although I have excellent eyesight, I can't see individual pixels. Oh, there we are.
What do you mean?
That looks pretty good.
They all look all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of these
Except
things we're
for
looking at here are how the screen actually is configured to display.
I think the device name is wrong.
It was success that I managed to get it on the fleet. Okay, that's what I called it.
But still nothing displays.
I was very excited that it turned on.
Does it display the startup logo?
No.
Oh.
So you've never seen anything at all on this display? It's always been blank?
Other than like that sort of backlit property where you can tell it's on. No.
Okay. You scroll up a bit. Is the GPU mem set? I don't see it here.
I'm still struggling to see actual values. It's further down.
Device GPU memory in megabytes. Was that set in the list? I don't see it enabled here, but it might have been down below in the longer list.
Here we are. Device GPU memory override 192. Oh, that's massively too high, but it should still display.
Does it?
128 or 64 is probably fine, but
I think all the other devices in that fleet have it set to something lower, don't they?
It's like 32. Yeah, I mean, you'd be seeing memory issues if it was memory. You wouldn't be seeing the screen not turn on, I would have said, but we can try.
Try changing that to 64.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine has. Mine has it set to 32.
So for people following along at home, that I was just thinking, there is people watching. That is the amount of memory that is dedicated to the GPU from the RAM. So whatever's left is used for running code apps.
Do we know? I haven't tried yet. The DT overlays. So there is one required, the hyperpixel 4 Pi 3, and that's set by the looks of it. I haven't tried it on my device yet because I'm still waiting for my Pi 3 to arrive. So as long as that's getting loaded and the memory is correct, you should at least see the splash screen. At least.
Yeah. So the device now, if we go to summary, the device should be rebooting because we've applied a change that needs to be picked up on boot. So that's why it's gone to online heartbeat only, and it's rebooting. So if you look at your screen now, is there anything actually appearing on the screen, Laura? Boop.
No.
I do suspect you've got a duff screen. Because we would definitely see the logo.
Or assuming the pins are seated correctly, like I haven't tried connecting one of these, but the GPIO pins are all lined up. There's no
pins sticking out, right? Let's see.
That looks good.
Looks good.
Yeah. We're all squinting at our
honestly,
screen.
The amount of satisfaction from this not being an obvious error is just like, I'm fine. I had this earlier in the week with Chris when I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. Chris was just like, I can't.
If I power cycle mine, I'll power cycle mine, and you can see what it should do. You could solo my layout, Andrew.
Oh yeah, sure. Here we go.
So you can already see it's starting to do something because mine's gone kind of vaguely white.
God, what'd you do to the middle of it?
What do you mean?
It's
got like some odd vignette in, yeah.
Yeah.
Come
on, buddy.
Oh, yours looks like mine. That's good.
At least they're consistent now.
Yeah.
Wait.
Here we are.
There we go. Whoops, sorry. There we go.
So we should come up with this logo as the OS is loading.
Seems to be in a
and you can see my activity lights flashing like a good one.
Well,
is your activity light flashing when it's booting?
Staying online heartbeat only at the minute.
Did you catch that, Laura?
Oh, if it's come onto the dashboard, then it is.
Did I catch? Sorry, which bit did I catch? Sorry.
I asked if the activity light was flashing when it was booting, but if it's come onto the dashboard, then it's connected to the VPN, then the device is fine.
Yes.
It's the screen seems to be. There's no light or anything on the screen.
It wouldn't stop rebooting for a while.
If you look down the side of the screen, can you see the backlight has come on at all?
No.
Because I can see my backlight. Yeah.
I did have it showing previously, but no.
Could we grab a sec to answer a community question while we are rebooting and fiddling about?
Please do.
Right on. Wuhan's got a good one here. Or he will have a good one. Could I ask a question about sensor? Of course you can.
Yes.
Of course you can. Probably typing now.
And Alan's like the sensor king, so if it's Adafruit, we're sorted.
Speaking of sensors, should I show my sensor collection?
Oh yeah.
Here he goes again.
Look at this guy.
Where'd you get that?
I made this myself. It's my own curated sensor collection.
Oh yeah, okay. Of course. We'll catch up.
Yeah. I suspect, Laura, that you've got a duff screen because I can see mine is on from the side.
But you had the backlight on a moment ago, didn't you? And now we've regressed, and now we don't have a backlight.
Yeah.
Did we actually see the backlight on?
I thought I did, but no, I don't trust my eyes.
Does the manufacturer have their own starter project to double check? Just to make sure.
Hang on, why are you pointing the finger at our code, Andrew?
Oh, I'm not. That's where my brain would go.
Just because you weren't in the team that won Hack Week. Did I mention we won Hack Week?
Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
How many times? Are we drinking? What time is it?
Yeah. Shot 3.
I think all I have is a water bottle, but you know.
Oh!
Here
it comes. I just recently purchased my first Raspberry Pi 4 with Relay Experience in Code program. I was wondering if there is a sensor or two-part sensor that could detect proximity from each other. Mr. Allen.
Yeah, I believe there's a proximity sensor, actually.
If I just dip into my box.
Let me just go into my collection.
If you actually have it, I'm gonna be impressed.
I think it's called the ADSP 4041 for this tiny print. I will have to put my glasses
Are you
on.
two in cahoots? Like, did you rehearse
Yeah,
this
that's
previously?
my buddy. I told him to ask a question. No, just kidding. Yeah, I do believe it's the ADSP. Where is it? Here we go.
Is it ADSP 9960?
I think it's 9960. Yeah, this is a
Yep.
proximity and RGB sensor right here. Let me see if we can get
He just
close to
happens to have it. That's amazing.
that. Yeah, this is a good one. And
All right, now build Wuhan's project.
it
for
comes
Wuhan.
with these quick connectors on the side, which makes it really easy to connect to your Pi 4 that you're looking to use.
Can you type the sensor name in the chat?
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in there. Actually, I'll get a link to where I purchased it. I'll put it in there so you can read all the specs about this particular sensor. You just give me a moment and I will get that in there. But this says, let's see, light, color, and proximity sensor. And gesture sensor as well too. So this won't necessarily tell you the proximity to another sensor, but it'll give you the proximity to yourself.
You soon will be.
I wish. I think I should be compensated for all the referrals that I've given. But
This is the longest job application I've ever heard, Alan. Oh,
whoa, progress.
Hey,
oh,
Laura.
this is gonna work, Laura.
Do you know what I did?
What'd you do?
What'd
I
you do?
unplugged it and plugged it back in again.
Oh,
Perfect.
classic IT.
Why? Why does that work?
We need that meme of turn it off and on again, don't we? Oh, look
Hey.
at this.
Look, there you go.
This is
All right.
coming up.
Great timing.
So how do you feel now, Laura?
Better, but
Better?
You're on the road to
also
that sweet
frustrated
meme
that I
service.
didn't fix it whilst you were all talking.
Oh, and your config looks correct. So I reckon we're gonna get photos at some point. Right, Will. I was just giving you premium support in the background then.
Sorry,
Awesome.
Alan.
No, that's
All right.
That's okay.
Is it game demo time?
I think so.
Yeah. Hopefully that
Alright.
answered your question, Wuhan. So we're going to put, if we haven't already, we're going to put the name of the sensor in chat, and then you can go and get one of those.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you have any problems setting that sensor up, then join this next week, and Mr. Allen will talk you through it.
And make sure to tell them that Alan referred you to if you buy it.
Use promo code Alan.
And Alan will send you one of his boxes to keep with him.
Hand
Hope
printed.
Lady Ada's watching this. She's like, that's a really good idea.
Look at that, satisfied customer. Cool. Right, Julia.
All right. So, hi everyone. Yeah, so
Hey.
this is my alternative game controller.
Woo!
So a while ago, I wanted to make a game where you have a spirit that's trapped inside of a brick, and the idea is that as you go through the game, you're supposed to free the spirit by moving the brick, and when you move the brick, you control the flow of time in the game, and that leads to a key event, and then the spirit gets freed eventually. And yeah, so now I have this. I was sort of experiencing some trouble as to how I should make the brick, what the best fabrication technique was. So I just sort of settled on this prototype for now. I've got this brick thing. This is the spirit at the top. It's a little bit creepy right now because I haven't painted it yet, but that's okay. That's with the season. And I also have these little patterns on the side, and they kind of mirror symbols in the game, and you're supposed to kind of use these to guide you to move various to move objects, and then that will cause other events to unfurl. And I'll just open it inside real quick just so you can see what's going on. Over here I've got an accelerometer. It's an LIS 3DH accelerometer with a Raspberry Pi 3, and underneath there is a power brick, which kind of like it consistently powers the Pi, so that's good. I was having some issues with power before, so that problem is solved, at least for now. And I just kind of take it in and out to charge it up when I need to. And it also has 2 vibration motors for haptic feedback, but I kind of turned them off at the moment because they were vibrating nonstop and it was getting kind of annoying. So I have to sort of smooth that out. But yeah, so this is what it's like on the inside. And I can share my screen to, if it's okay, to show you how things work. All right. And share screen.
We'll switch over once you add it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I selected the screen. So I kind of might need to refresh it real quick because so I'm using WebSockets for the communication between the sensors and the web page, and sometimes they kind of get clogged up. And I don't really know that much about WebSockets to know how to fix that at the moment, but I just sort of restart the screen. And I find that they sort of lose connection when I don't really pay attention to either, when I don't really pay attention to the screen. So there's a little bit of a delay, which sometimes happens especially when I'm streaming, which is kind of weird. But as you can see, I'm moving the brick and the little symbols at the bottom are sort of moving as well. And the idea is to try and get them to be aligned with one another. And when you move the brick, the animation frames kind of speed up or slow down. And while that's sort of just like a kind of a basic demo right now, I kind of want to use that to actually manipulate a lot of the other images in the game as well. So you can kind of manipulate how fast time itself progresses when you're playing. So yeah, and yeah, you have the creature in the upper left telling you what to do with the controller, kind of as just a little example. And yeah, you've got a little close word bubble that pops up when the two shapes are close together. And as far as, I don't know if you see the little running character at the bottom, but when they go off screen, they sort of leave this purple trail, and that's the image of the character being like written on top of itself over and over again. And that's kind of a glitchy thing, which I want to play with some more. I kind of like this idea of just images layering on top of each other as time goes on. So that's a little effect that I left in there because I kind of want to play with it a little bit more. And that's where the state of this thing is right now. So yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. Really cool. What library or what are you using for like drawing stuff?
P5.
The P5? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
She has like every bit of detail in her project post here.
Cool.
You can click on it in the comments, but the part that I like is how much community interaction there is on the build log of it. Julia did a really great job of capturing all her milestones, adventures, and whatnot. Everyone's invited, whether you want to check out Julia's or add your own project. Like, we're always curious to see what people are up to with Balena.
Cool. Unless we've got any other questions or anybody else has got anything they want to talk about on project-wise, I think Laura's screen, I was hoping we could look at that. Fixed it in the clinic.
Wow. I was just very excited, and I was just sat and I was like, I really want to watch what Julia's doing, and I really don't want to detract from this. But at the corner of my eye, I could see it like bringing up photos, and I was like, yeah.
Nice work.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
Is the Pixel Buddy, is it only for the Raspberry Pi 3, or could I run it on a Pi 0 too?
Oh, I don't think it'd run on a Pi 0. I doubt you'd have enough memory or horsepower, but a 3, a 4, a Nook, it's a Jetson Nano. But if you wanted
Pi
to
0 2 might work.
TX2.
Talking about that, have you seen what's on my desk,
Might not have
Mr.
enough
Chris?
memory, maybe.
Well, the 3A's only got 512 or whatever, so in theory it should be all right.
The 02 arrived today. I'm trying to get it to run. I've got it. It boots up, but it's a different. So for anybody at home, the Pi 02 was released yesterday, I think, and it's running the same CPU as the 3B Plus. But
and you've got one the day after release. Oh, you must be some kind of like higher up.
Must be like some kind of
He's had it for 2 weeks. He's one of their demo testers.
I'm a pretty big deal around these parts, sure.
You're going to link your YouTube channel. Like.
When they heard the Pixel Buddy team member wanted one, they pulled out all the stops. No, but it's got a different Wi-Fi and Bluetooth modem to the 3B Plus, so we just need to do a bit of work to get that running. But I think, fingers crossed, by next week, I reckon we'll have these up and running, supporting balenaOS for your projects.
So which device type did you
I flashed
download the
32-bit 3B Plus. I was going to try the 64-bit.
Okay.
but I can see in the logs that it's just the Wi-Fi driver that it can't load. I do have a USB Ethernet adapter, but I don't have the micro USB. I can't find my micro USB adapter. Otherwise, I reckon I could get it running today, but hey ho, we'll get that running next week, pretty sure. So if you're going to go and buy a 02, hopefully next week you can run your Balena projects up on them.
And
Cool.
bigger questions.
Yeah.
All right. Oh,
Anybody
got one
got
quick
anything
plug.
else?
Yeah, one
Yep.
quick one. Balena Hub Challenge is going on through November 30. So if
nice,
you have
sure.
a really cool project, you can add it up to the 30th of November for a chance to win cash prize, and the best projects get featured on Etcher.
And we're hiring, so go and check out the job postings. We're looking for just clever people that want to come and join in with this sort of nonsense and do cool projects and hard problems.
Boom.
It's like a checklist of things, isn't it? It's like submit something to the hub competition. We're
Yeah.
hiring. Apply for a
Yeah.
job. Buy a fin. Sign up to
Apply,
Balena
subscribe.
You owe us a Halloween song, Chris.
That an Etcher Pro? Oh my god.
Oh
And-
my
oh,
god.
how funny of you to
wow.
mention.
Oh, this old
This
thing.
old thing, yeah. I just
So
use it way
smooth.
down my papers. Yeah.
While that's just appeared.
That's not a good sales technique. I use it to weigh down my like
That's all it does. That's the key feature. Just kidding.
point is
Constantinos, don't kill
He
us.
could flash lots of SD cards very quickly if he
Yeah.
wanted. That's the point. Cool. Thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for
Thank you
watching.
all.
Thank you mostly for the questions. Catch you later.